At the center of America's map lies a vast expanse known as the Heartland, a place once filled with roaring factories, humming with life. Ohio. Its name once whispered pride in the breath of steelworkers, coal miners, and rubber makers. Cities like Cleveland, Akron, and Toledo used to shine with promise. Not the glimmer of luxury, but the steady glow of working-class grit. Now, their light has dimmed. Flickering shadows dance through hollow buildings and under shattered streetlights, and the American dream lies curled up in alleyways, shivering and silent. You don't see them at first. The homeless in Ohio don't always shout, don't always beg. Sometimes they lie still, beneath blankets soaked in winter rain, under bridges blackened with exhaust, or in the flickering shadows of a boarded-up diner. They are forgotten. Not just by the system, but by us. Their silence is not a choice, it is survival. They exist in a world where being seen is dangerous and being invisible is a death sentence. These are not just lost homes, these are lost stories, lost hopes, lives erased. Ohio is no longer the proud portrait of labor. It is a mirror cracked by decades of abandonment. A mirror that reflects back a truth we try not to see, that when the heart of a nation bleeds, the body begins to rot. And that rot doesn't always look like chaos. Sometimes it's neat. Sometimes it's hidden under snow. Sometimes it looks like a woman walking alone in a hospital gown in February, barefoot and unseen. We think homelessness lives in coastal metropolises, San Francisco, New York, Louisiana, but it is hiding here, in quiet towns and endless cornfields, in gas stations at midnight, in playgrounds that echo with no laughter. In Cleveland, more than 3,000 souls search for shelter each night. Some get lucky and find a bed. Others settle into makeshift graveyards of cardboard and tarps. In Columbus, the count rises with each sunset, over 20% more just in recent years. A surge not broadcasted but very real. And in smaller cities, Toledo, Dayton, Akron, the numbers are lower, but each is a scream. Each is a life stretched thin until it snaps. The numbers lie. They do not show the pain of choosing between rent and food, between paying for a child's medicine or keeping the heat on, between dignity and despair. And in rural Ohio, the crisis is worse. There, the homeless are ghosts. They float from couch to couch, car to car, barn to broken down barn. They smile at church and cry in silence at night. They are hidden not by shadows but by shame. A waitress at your diner, a janitor at your child's school, a man you pass every morning without looking. They serve you, they smile, but they go home to nothing. They survive the way prey survives in a forest, by not drawing attention. And when winter arrives, it kills without warning. No roof, no fire, just frostbitten fingers and dreams that freeze mid-thought. How did we get here? Was it a single disaster? No. It was 1,000 small cuts. Cuts from factories closed in Youngstown, from the silence that fell over Lordstown when GM left, from the echoes of rubber machines that once thundered in Akron. Cuts made deeper by policies, crafted not with cruelty, but with carelessness, outsourcing, deregulation, automation. It happened slowly, like a fever no one noticed until the sweat turned to blood. The cost of living climbed, but wages did not. A one-bedroom apartment in any Ohio city is now out of reach for someone earning minimum wage. This isn't an economic puzzle, it's a trap. And the safety nets? They're full of holes. Waiting lists for housing stretch across years. Shelters overflow. Mental health services have been slashed to ribbons. And those most in need are often those who cannot speak for themselves. Instead of aid, many face punishment. In Ohio, poverty is a crime. Sleeping in public, begging for change, or pitching a tent under a bridge is enough to get you a citation, or worse. The police sweep through camps like ghosts of eviction. They take what little remains. A child's teddy bear, a veteran's coat, a mother's last picture of her child. We criminalize suffering. We find the forgotten. And the public, the voters, they look away. Because the face of homelessness isn't photogenic. It's dirty. It's disheveled. It smells like desperation. And so we treat it like rot. Cut it away. Pretend it was never there. Meanwhile, politicians toss pennies at shelters and dollars at luxury developments. They build parks no one visits, roads no one drives, while mothers curl around their children in the cold, hoping the engine doesn't die tonight. The media feeds the myth that the homeless are lazy, that they chose this. But meet Grace, a woman in Cleveland who lives in a blue tent behind a 24-hour convenience store. What she misses most isn't her house. It's hearing someone say her name. Even just a "Hey, Grace," she said, her voice barely audible. I want to know I still exist. Or Marcus, who once slept behind a church dumpster in Dayton, terrified each night of being stabbed, set on fire, or worse. Now he helps build tiny homes, safe, warm, private, a place where people can breathe, not flourish, not yet, but survive. Just survive. In rural Vinton County, we met a man who lived in his car for 8 months. He worked every day, small jobs, whatever he could get. People think I'm a junkie, he said, but I just couldn't keep up. I used to have a house. I used to have a wife. Now he has a steering wheel, a blanket, and silence. There's horror here. The horror isn't just in what's happening. It's in how normal it has become. How easy it is to step over someone and not even pause. To hear a cough behind a dumpster and not even turn around. In winter, some die with their eyes open, frozen like dolls, looking up at skies that never care. A man in Columbus froze to death outside a shelter just 2 feet from the locked door. They were full. There was no room. His body was found by school children the next morning. This isn't a crisis of economy. It's a crisis of empathy. And yet, there are flickers of humanity. A volunteer handing out soup under an overpass, a teacher who brings clean clothes for a student who sleeps in a van, a doctor who loads up a van every weekend with medical supplies. These people aren't saints. They're tired, but they don't stop. Because if they do, something inside them will die too. In Dayton, a tiny village of 20 square meter homes has become a lifeline. No frills, just safety and dignity. In Toledo, homeless people borrow books from a mobile library, poetry, philosophy, even cookbooks. In Cleveland, training programs teach carpentry, farming, and kitchen work. They pay, they believe. And belief is the first thing poverty steals from you. But these efforts are drops in an ocean of neglect. The state pours money into stadiums, ribbon-cutting ceremonies, and tax breaks for the rich. They call them investments, but they are tombstones, markers of where humanity was buried for the sake of optics. They say we can't afford to fix homelessness, but we can't afford empty buildings, empty parking lots, empty promises. And every night, as the wind cuts across the concrete plains of Ohio, someone tries to sleep in the backseat of a car with their shoes still on. Because if they take them off, they might not wake up. Ohio is no longer just a place. It's a warning, a scar across the map, a ghost story told in real time. And if this is what happens in the heart of America, then what hope is left for the rest? One video won't fix it. One voice won't silence the storm. But silence is already killing us. Maybe what we need isn't a $1 million plan. Maybe we need to say the names again. Grace, Marcus, the man in Vinton County, the child who died in a van in January. They were us. They still are. And if we do nothing, the next face you walk past in the cold could be your own reflection.